Welcome to Conversations with Chuck Hester, a weekly podcast designed to inform and entertain you and introduce you to some really interesting and inspiring people. I'm your host, Chuck Hester. My guest today is Brian Basilico, one of my favorite guys, and we were talking about this. We love to have conversations. Brian is Director of Directions at B2B Interactive, focusing on two main concepts: using content marketing to build know, like, and trust relationships, and helping you create better business sales relationships with current, future, and past clients while measuring the results using analytics tools with reports and insights not found through free resources. He is also one of my favorite people because he's part of the Pay It Forward 6, a group of consultants who offer free consulting advice to up-and-coming entrepreneurs and nonprofits through our Pay It Forward Tuesdays initiative. Welcome to the show, Brian.
What's up, Chuck? How you doing, man?
I'm great.
Good.
You know, you're similar to me, and that I've always talked about the fact that when you own your own company, you can have any title you want. So I was always the director of connections or something along that line. And so tell me, the director of directing, what is that all about?
Well, actually, it's director of direction. And I got that from when I worked at Arthur Andersen in the Department of Redundancy department, when we used to have meetings to plan meetings on what donuts we were going to have at meetings. So I figured when I started my own company, I might as well be the director of direction, because I direct everything, right? That's what I do when you own your own company. Yeah. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, and you mentioned meetings about meetings. That was one thing when people say, "Why are you a consultant?" or "Why don't you like being in corporate?" And it used to be because we used to have 4 meetings about a meeting that we were supposed to have to set up that meeting. So, yeah, absolutely. So, B2B Interactive. Tell us more about what that's all about. What kind of clients you work with?
Yep, I started with B2B Interactive in 2000, actually, is when I started the company. And it's evolved over the years. I mean, when I started originally working on marketing, there was no internet, there was no email. When I started this company, there was no internet, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, that kind of stuff. There was definitely websites, but, there was nothing happening. So back when I started it, I was doing business card CDs. And when I say business card CDs, we're talking about, the ones that look like, you know what I mean? And they had the hole in the center and you put audio on them or video on them and maybe a PowerPoint or, whatever. And I sold those to salespeople.
And for our Generation X and millennial people, a CD is basically a little disc that you use.
Yeah. Not everything is downloadable on the internet back in the year 2000. So since then, my company's kind of evolved. I've written a handful of books, and over the last probably 5 years, I've really transitioned into the bigger B2B space, meaning, B2B is business to business. I work with businesses that sell to other businesses, not businesses that sell to consumers. So that's the biggest thing about it. And what I do is basically help them figure out why their online presence isn't working and help them fix it.
So I've got to deconstruct it to a certain extent, and I'll get to the first important part in your title, but we'll talk about the second part. Is there a reason why it's B to lowercase b?
Yeah, I did that on purpose because it was different. Back when I did it, it's kind of a play on words because it's Brian Basilico, it's B2B, it's B squared, it's all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, excellent explanation as far as that goes. So we've got to go to the other part of that, though. I want to put your banner back up. The Bacon Guy. I mean, you and I met. We talked about this mid-January in one of our favorite platforms called Lunch Club, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But talk to me about the Bacon Guy. What's the Bacon Guy?
Well, the Bacon Guy is because of my first book, which is It's Not About You, It's About Bacon. And actually, this book started out as it's not about you, it's about relationship marketing in the social media world. And when I was writing the book, I was going out and networking, and I would go to all these breakfast meetings. And what I would do is I would take a picture of bacon and I would put it up saying, meeting at such and such a restaurant and so on and so forth. And then my friends started, hitting me up and going, "Dude, do you have a prepaid plan with your cardiologist? Because you're going to haul off and die." What they didn't realize, it was OPB. It was other people's bacon. I was eating oatmeal, but I was taking a picture of people's bacon all the time. And what I come to find out as I was writing the book is the two most shared things on the internet. Number one is cat videos, and number two is bacon. And you can go check it out, man. You could look at hashtags, that stuff. It's pretty much still the same thing. There may be a couple other things that have kind of jumped in front of it. But so I was sitting at a meeting with my client, and I showed her the book cover, and she looked at me and she goes, "No, you need to change the name of the book. It's not about you. It's about bacon." And I said, damn straight. So what I did from there, because I worked at AT&T for a while, and AT&T was the capital of acronyms. I don't know if you've worked for a company that's been like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Everything there was an acronym. You didn't go to the bathroom. You went to the LBR, LGR. It's a little boys' room, little girls' room. I worked at NSC. It was everything was just an acronym. So bacon, when I wrote the book, I decided the bacon acronym would stand for Building Authentic Connections Online Networking, and that's what it's about.
Man, that you worked hard on that one.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, it was it's a long road.
No, absolutely. But really interesting stuff that we got. So you and I have both been in B2B marketing for years. No,
yes.
I did the number the other day. Well, my joke is, I've been in marketing, communications, PR, B2B for 25 years, and I said that basically for the last 15 years.
Right.
So I
exactly.
finally had to update it to it's more like 40, 41 years as far as that goes. So B2B marketing obviously has shifted and changed since dot-com bubble burst and everything else that's going on. And then of course this little small thing called COVID came into play for the year of and changed some things. We'll get to that because that's one of my normal questions. Sure. But talk to me about from the time you started out in B2B marketing to today. How are things changed? What's the difference?
Let me kind of go through the step by step. The first thing I did was open a recording studio in my dad's basement. And at that time, I was doing marketing. I was doing recording studio commercials. I was doing jingles. I was doing all that kind of fun stuff. From there, I went to work for AT&T, and that was back in like 1980. And so I started in 79, maybe it was 82. So I went to work for AT&T from 82 to 89. Then I started my own commercial recording studio, and I was one of the first digital recording studios in the western suburbs in Chicago. There was a lot of them downtown, but none out here. That went from 1990 to 1997, sold that company to a digital marketing agency and worked for them, rebuilt the recording studio for them and developed CD-ROMs and websites and flash animations and all that kind of fun stuff. From there, I went to work for Arthur Anderson around 2000 and then didn't last very long there. I couldn't play well in that sandbox. And then I started this. And so, over the course of that time, I could tell you what hasn't changed. And what has not changed is when you sit down, you look at marketing and you look at sales, everything's about how do you create a human connection between whatever you're selling and the message. And then how do you get that out there in a way that's going to make you stand out from the competition? The only thing that's really changed over the course of the year is the methodologies in which we actually distribute the information. Back in 1979, when I opened up my recording studio, I was doing content marketing. And everybody said, well, how the hell do you do content marketing in 1979? There's no internet, there's no email, there's no websites, there's nothing. I said it was easy. What I did is I had an Atari 400 computer, and I would sit there and type on that. I would print it out on a dot matrix printer. I would cut out the articles, and I would paste it in an 11 by 17 sheet of paper and then send it to a printer and have it printed and deliver it via mail. I was doing content marketing back in 1979. I sucked at it, but I did it. So the only difference between then and now is how we're delivering it, whether you're doing ebooks or blogs or podcasts or videos or, the things have gotten easier, but the messages and the concept has not changed. Everything is the same. It's just the way we deliver it is different.
Interesting to bring that up as well. Yeah, I could go back. I mean, when I was a USC grad and Southern California, I worked with Pac Bell at one point in time. So very similar as far as that goes. And I'm going to, start a drinking game for us, and you're drinking, I'm drinking, but it's all, reasonable stuff. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, every time we use the word affinity, then, I got to interrupt here real quick, Brian, because I've got a comment that came in. As both of you guys have ridiculously good broadcast voices, you should start a podcast called Smoking Pipes.
Yeah.
Ooh, we can definitely use that. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, back to affinity. I mean, that's kind of, who you and I are. And when we first had our lunch conversation and took it from there, there was immediate affinity because of several different areas, B2B marketing. We'll get to the pay it forward side of it and what you end up doing, but it's fascinating to see. And I will let Joe Paluzzi know, by the way, who's the founder of Content Marketing Institute, that you created content marketing before he coined the phrase. But no, all good stuff, man. I mean, it really is. So give me a couple of things. I always love to walk through this, but over the 40 plus years that you've been in content marketing, B2B marketing, it's almost like the interview question, right? What are some of your amazing wins that you had and some of your amazing fails? Because obviously you learn more from the fails sometimes than you do the wins. But what stands out for you?
Yeah, man, there's so many over the course of 40 years. I'll tell you the biggest win I've ever had is I met this woman I was teaching the course at a local college, and she came to me and she had a company that makes golf club ferrules. And I'm not talking about ferrules in your hair goes long. What a golf club ferrule is you have the head, of the golf club, which you actually hit the ball with. And then you have the shaft. And in between the shaft and the hosel where you put that in, there's a little piece of plastic called a ferrule. And that's what her grandfather started and was manufacturing that since the 1940s. And this was about 2010-ish. And she came to me and said, hey, my business is going under. I have a $25,000 grant from the U.S. government because all of my business went over to China. And she says, what can you do to help my business stay alive? And I said, I don't know, but $25,000 is a good chunk of change. But we needed to figure out what the heck we were going to do with that in order to get the biggest bang. Obviously you can go in and start doing, Facebook ads or LinkedIn. Well, back then you couldn't. You could do Google ads back at the time. You create a new website, you could do an e-commerce site, the whole 9 yards. So we tried to figure out what was going on. But before we did that, we had to figure out what the heck this thing meant to the world. So I was able to contact a bunch of golf club, hobbyists and say, what do you think of this thing? Oh, they're really cool. You can put your school colors on there. You can have a green ferrule and yellow stripes in it and make it look like the Green Bay Packers or, whatever you want. And then I got a hold of this guy named Dick Smith. And Dick Smith was a golf club aficionado that actually went to the major tournaments. He would make the golf clubs for Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, just about everybody you could imagine on the tour at the actual tour. He'd be down in Florida going from tournament to tournament, and they build the clubs based on the conditions. So everybody's getting custom golf clubs almost every time they play or wherever they play around the United States, because I play golf. It's way different in Florida than it is in Illinois, than it is in New York, all that kind of stuff. And I asked him, I said, Dick, what's the benefit of this thing? He says, Brian, it's a piece of plastic. It means absolutely nothing. It doesn't affect the swing. It doesn't do anything. But let me tell you what it means. He says, this thing cost me 7 cents. If this thing breaks when Tiger Woods hits a ball, there are two things that happen. Number one, it's taped and it's all over the news at night. The second thing is that I've got to rebuild his club, and Tiger does not like me to rebuild his clubs. He said, so, this little piece of plastic is worth $1 million to me. So I kind of understood what he meant. But the problem is that everybody was having these things manufactured over in China because they were manufacturing the clubs and the shafts and everything over there. And that's how she was losing her business. So what we did is we reinvented the company. We sold packs of the colored ferrules for $1.25 a piece in a 12-pack. It would be about $25. And I went on a bunch of forums and golf club forums and said, hey, we have these great ferrules. They work better. They last longer. They're American made. And somebody said, spammer. And one guy goes, no, man, these things are the bomb. They're the best thing. They don't break. They're great. And the next thing you know, her business exploded to the point where she couldn't fulfill the orders fast enough. At basically taking a 7-cent part and turning it into a $20 sale. And Eventually what happened is the companies who are manufacturing the clubs over in China figured out that her parts were better because they were shipping these things over the United States. People were playing, the ferrules were breaking, and people would send them back to California. And it was costing them $150 a club to fix for this little cheap part. And they were replacing with Chinese parts, and they were breaking again. So eventually the company started ordering her parts and shipping them over to China as part of the manufacturing. And the one thing I got out of that is, I don't know if you're a golfer or not, but she said to me, she said, Brian, I will get you, her mother, who actually was the daughter of the guy who started the company, said, if you can save this company, I will get you a free round at Medina. Okay. Which is Medina Country Club I've never played there. And, I'm not that great of a golfer, but, it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's like playing Pebble Beach. So we did it. I got the round. The end of the story is this. So I got the round. We saved her company. All this other things went on. I played that day. I sucked. I mean, I think I shot 104 or something like that. But I show up at the 18th hole right in front of the clubhouse. First shot down the fairway. Second shot 90 feet away from the green. Third shot, I chip the ball into the green over a sand trap, and it goes in the cup. And everybody is watching, and the pro is standing there. And the pro looks at me and goes, dude, he says, the professionals do not birdie 18. So I just went like that and walked up.
I don't blame you, man. Yeah, it's like the mic drop, right? I mean, you're
exactly.
done. So
yeah.
There you go.
Exactly. I sucked the whole time. When everybody was watching, I birdied 18.
Okay. Well, bad transition here, but speaking of sucking, how about a fail? I mean, do you have one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest, God, there's so many of them. The biggest one was when I owned the recording studio myself. It wasn't necessarily a business fail, but it was more so that the business, I had the studio upstairs, or studio in the basement, and the offices were upstairs. We rented out the basement because the space was cheap. And basically the company that bought the building was working on it and flooded out the entire basement, and ended up, having raw sewage in my entire recording studio, which shut me down for 3 months. But the owner of the building still wanted me to pay rent, and it was like, yeah. And it's like, dude, you shut me down. So one of the things I learned from that, first and foremost, we did shut it down. I ended up having to leave that building. I got sued, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it got nasty. I took a full-time job. My employees worked at the new location without my supervision. And by the time I got 3 months into it, they said, we're leaving. We're taking all your customers. Goodbye. So it was pretty low. I mean, I lost my entire business. Luckily, I came back and ended up selling it to one of my customers. He paid off all my debt, and I started from ground zero. But the thing I learned from that was having one single stream of income was not a great idea. You've got to learn to diversify and do multiple things one way, shape, or form. So hence, the books, I don't make a lot off the books, but the books get me speaking gigs. So I do speaking gigs. I sell books. I do consultations. I do all different kinds of things to keep my business flowing.
Yeah, and we've got to mention, because I'm if there's nothing that's going on with you, Brian, it's that you are really good at labeling stuff and titling. You also have a book called Toilet Paper Math.
That's correct.
Okay, so yeah. See, this is my kind of guest. They always have their information. I mean, Andrew Davis was a guest on a while back, and he had basically his books in the background all set up. Bob Berg, same thing, as far as that goes. So talk to us a little bit about Toilet Paper Math, what it's all about.
Yep. Okay, so Toilet Paper Math, the basic concept, obviously last year being the pandemic, was pretty fun because there was a toilet paper shortage, and I actually started writing this right before it happened. And the concept of toilet paper math came to me in a dream, believe it or not, one night, and I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I started thinking about going down the toilet paper aisle. And you've got all of these different, I remember when I was a little kid, you had a roll of toilet paper. That was it. You bought them in single rolls. And then eventually they came out with 4 rolls. And now they've got these like multi-rolls. And now they have single sheets, double sheets, quad rolls, 3, you walk into Walmart, there's an entire aisle filled with toilet paper. And one of the things, so I started studying it and looking at it, it's like, why did they say 9 equals 36 and 8 equals 120? And, what the heck does this mean? And what I found out is toilet paper was originally 4.5 inches square to fit on the holders. And then eventually what they did is they shrunk it down to 4.1 inches. And now toilet paper today is 3.7 inches by 4.1 inches because it can't make it any shorter. Otherwise, it's going to wobble around too much. And so what they're doing is they're taking that toilet paper, which is smaller size, they're wrapping more in a roll. They're putting it in a bag and they're saying, hey, if you get these 10 rolls or these 20 rolls or these 8 rolls or 16 rolls or 12 rolls or whatever, you're getting more for your money because these 12 actually equal 120 or 84 or some other funky number, but literally what you're doing is you're paying more for less. It's like the jars that have 5.8 ounces in the 8-ounce jar size, look like 8 ounces, but it's smaller. So they're selling you less and charging you more. And that's the concept that I see a lot of times in the B2B world is people, when they look at their business, people measure things like Google Analytics. And, the customers I work with are usually shocked because when I start working with them, the traffic on their website drops dramatically. I had one client go from 1,000 or 4,000 a month hits on their website down to 1,500 hits a month. And they came to me and said, dude, whatever the hell you're doing, stop. And I said, why? They say, well, our hits went way down. I said, okay, let me ask you this. Are the number of sales that you're getting going up? And they go, yeah, but the hits are going down. I said, what do you want? You want hits or you want sales? One of the things I tell my clients all the time is like, I can get you 1 million visitors to your website today for $500. Do you want that? And everybody says, well, yeah. And I say, okay, it's really easy. All you got to do is translate your website to Farsi and Russian, and none of them are going to buy it from you, but you're going to get 1 million hits. If that's what you want to measure, that's okay. But what you should be measuring is what are you doing that's generating income? And so that's what toilet paper math is all about. And that's what the book is about.
Wow. A font of information. I'll make one comment here. Usually it's in the show, but I know for a fact, because I'm sitting here looking at my timer, we are already 20 minutes in and cool. We're scratching the surface, baby. So that's always a good thing. Yep. We'll get into, frankly, our favorite subject, paying it forward and what we're doing with the initiative and looking at that. A couple more things that I want to cover though in marketing. I honestly, I don't like the cliche status updates on LinkedIn sometimes, which is, what would you tell your 22-year-old self? What would you do? However,
that's easy. What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, really. Right. Stop buying all the crap that nobody's going to pay attention to when 20 years later and buy gold instead or whatever. But you are coming up alongside, as well as the other 5, with our entrepreneurs in particular and our nonprofits. But I hate the age technology, so I'll do it this way: the young ones that are coming up. What's the type of advice that you are giving to them now, based on your 40 years of experience, and what are the things that you want to make sure that they understand and get before, as they move forward in their marketing careers or entrepreneur careers, whatever it may be?
Yeah, the biggest thing that the young kids get is they get BSOS, bright shiny object syndrome. And John Wooden, greatest basketball coach of all time, the first thing he would do is teach kids how to tie their laces. And that's generally what I tell people is learn how to tie your shoes and then learn how to dribble. Understand the basics of marketing, understand the basics of advertising, understand the basics of persuasion. You should be able to, whatever you do, does not matter what platform. Mastering YouTube is not going to make you a millionaire. It might get you 1 million followers, but YouTube is eventually going to change the algorithm and everything you built up is going to go away. So don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to how can I learn the basics of marketing, of sales, of anything that I need to do to grow my business. And the other thing, there are 3 things that I say all the time. Number 1, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Always surround yourself with smarter people. Every doctor needs a doctor. Every mentor needs a mentor. Every coach needs a coach. So get yourself a coach, get yourself into a mastermind, do something to continue to grow and stretch yourself. And the final thing is, you never stop learning. Dude, I'm a few years away from being, getting my AARP card. But I could qualify for it now if I wanted to. But the thing is I work harder at learning now than I did when I was in my 20s. That was the secret I think I learned in my 30s and 40s. And then I really ramped it up in my 50s. And now I'm sitting here. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of books that I listen to and read and articles and things of that nature. And, always trying to learn new things so that I can expand my horizons. So never stop investing in yourself. Those are the key things that everybody's got to know.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And a quick story in regards to, you can be a master of YouTube. Way back in the day, like 2005, 6, something like that, Facebook was just coming up. And I had a client friend of mine who said, I need somebody to help me with Facebook advertising. I said, well, I got this young kid. He's 20 years old. He just graduated college. I'll send him on over and take a look. They did the interview and set that up. And, I called the guy the next day. I said, so how'd that interview go with Brian? And he said, he blew out on the first question. And the first question that the guy asked was, how many real jobs have you held? And the only thing the guy said was, no, I've been doing Facebook advertising since I graduated college. Well, then you don't have the experience to be able to understand my clients and my B2B world because you don't have that capability. So, and I know you do this, and I know you're a big advocate of it. One of the other things that I've been talking about recently is what I call two-way mentoring. I'm learning as much from the youngsters that I'm working with and being able to say, okay, this is really cool. Because frankly, I'm not a big Instagram guy. I know how to use TikTok. I don't use it. Although visual and graphical aspects of, I look for those people and they come to me and say, how can I, Hunter Hoops, who's one of our guys, our guy, he kills it on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm learning a lot from him as far as that goes. So anyway, that's what it looks like. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I must say, because we mentioned him earlier, and in your know, like, and trust introduction, that's basically, so for those of you who may not know, Bob Berg is the one that basically created Know, Like, and Trust.
Right.
Is the godfather of, if you will, and one of the most amazing sales trainers in the world. He was on my podcast a while back. So for those who may not know, Like, and Trust, let's talk about that. But then also let's talk about how that applies to how you are networking these days, mostly online.
Yeah, oh boy. Big subject. I'll give you the know, like, and trust in simple basics. Know, like, and trust is you go to network to get to know people, you meet them online to get to like them, and you build the trust through one-on-one. So it's a sequence of networking and online marketing all at the same time. We used to do know, like, and trust is you get to know somebody because somebody introduced you. So you get to know them, you maybe go out and meet them somewhere, and then you have deeper conversations to the point where, can I trust this person with my business or my, what I'm doing? So online networking has changed a lot over the last year. I just did a blog on this. There are so many opportunities to go out to networking groups, and you could basically have a full-time career in just networking. And a lot of these groups have 100 people in there, but the key question is are those people that you're networking with people that can potentially introduce you to your ideal clients, or are you just networking with hope or wish marketing? And so that's one of the things that I've learned is I've started to scale back on the groups that have hundreds of people in them where they're great opportunities. It's the spray and pray kind of methodology to very, very targeted groups that work with my ideal clients. Paid for or not paid for doesn't matter. The key thing is, can I benefit them by introducing them to people first? And then can they, potentially introduce me to somebody that I could do business with?
Yeah. And you bring it up because honestly, that's where Lunch Club comes in for me.
Right.
And I'm like, I do actually have a methodology, and I also use it with my clients of, I will connect with you on LinkedIn, but I'm going to ask for that 15-minute phone call and be able to get to know you better and understand and deepen the relationship. You and I are a great example of that as to how we have built that relationship over the last several months.
Oh yeah.
But you run into a situation where folks are going, no, well, 15-minute phone call means a sales pitch. Well, no, not necessarily.
Right.
Eventually there may be some, but and we keep bringing up Lunch Club, so I should mention it. If you're not on Lunch Club, let me know. Both Brian and I have. It's on a waiting list, George. We can get you invites in, but it's basically what I just described: 15 minutes, right. 20 minutes, getting to know each other, and taking it from there. I'm fascinated, and we won't go down this rabbit hole, but I'm fascinated with folks who connect with me by saying, oh, I saw you because you're in marketing, I'm in marketing, let's connect. And, I connect for a reason on those type of guys, because I want to see if they do exactly what they do, which is the next one is, and we have great website services, and can we set up a meeting?
Right. Yeah. How many emails of that do you get a day? It's like, I was looking at your website and I noticed you weren't ranking. Really? Okay. Right. Well, that's interesting because, I find it really hard to rank any better.
Exactly.
They're fishing. They're throwing things out there. I got an email from somebody. Hey, this person. I know this person. I would love to talk with you. I'm a financial advisor. It's like, nah, ain't gonna happen. I don't need it.
I was surprised. I actually got one from a CPA the other day. I was like, okay, so you guys are starting to fish now too, which kind of drives you crazy a little bit.
It's what I call, okay, so I actually do this meme. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, but I also spend a lot of time on Facebook. Facebook is my fun. LinkedIn is my business,
There you go.
So it's like I am LinkedIn on the top and I'm Facebook on the bottom. I'm not going to leave it there. But the thing about Facebook is I do this thing called the connect and pitch of the week, and that happens on LinkedIn all the time. If somebody connects with me, and a lot of times when I call them out and say, dude, I don't have time for this, and well, you need to learn from people who know better than you. You don't understand the value I can bring. It's like, dude, I've been doing this for like 40 years. I understand everything. Especially your pitch. And then they go off on these tangents and get angry at you. So what I'll do is I'll copy the best parts of that and I'll put it into a document, and I have this graphic called Connect and Pitch, which is somebody poking the butt of a baseball pitcher. And then I put, highlights from the conversation, usually where the guy goes off, basically blows off steam and starts calling me an a-hole. But it's like, I'm not trying to be an a-hole. It's like, dude, I don't know what you need. And then they keep coming at you, it's like, come at me, bro. It's like, stop. I don't want what you're selling.
I have a friend of mine who does some similar. As a matter of fact, Robert Rose, who's part of the Content Marketing Institute and been on this broadcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he just recently posted on his Facebook stream 3 different messages, same exact messages, 4 weeks apart from the same guy that basically said, I know this will be my last email because I want to make sure you get this 4 different times. This will be my last email.
Right.
So, as far as that goes. Well, you mentioned LinkedIn, and I know for a fact that you're actively involved in that. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Coffee and Bacon, which is on Saturdays mornings, right?
Thank you. Yep. Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., which you are on. And you can find that if you want to check it out. I know you don't have a banner for this. It's li4sales, the number 4.com. LI for sales, which stands for LinkedIn for sales. li4sales.com. And in there's the LinkedIn Lives, and all the replays are sitting in there because it's a heck of a lot easier to find them that way than it is to try to scroll through my feed in LinkedIn.
We have a banner.
There you go. Look at you.
Yeah,
damn, you're
absolutely.
good.
Absolutely. We were talking about that. We love shout out to StreamYard. We love StreamYard for both of our podcasts to be able to do that.
I love doing it on Saturday morning with this. But if you go there's a / you'll see the LinkedIn Lives, and you can actually see Chuck and Adam talk about Pay It Forward Tuesdays on there and how it got started and the origins and how it works and all that stuff.
I want my audience to know I did not send a script in advance, but this is the transition into let's talk about Paying It Forward. And, first of all, your general experience with Paying It Forward, because I know you've been doing it for a long time, as have I. And then we'll get specifically into, our organization called Pay It Forward Tuesdays. So the Pay It Forward lifestyle, how's that work for you?
Well, Pay Forward lifestyle has always been something that, when I lost a recording studio, I literally was homeless and penniless and got to start from ground zero. Mm-hmm. So I learned how to appreciate what it's like to be homeless and penniless and living out of a box. I literally slept on my sister's couch for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And so if it wasn't for her couch, I would have been sleeping in my car. So I got down to that level, and it really gave me an opportunity to understand what ground zero means and where people are going. So then I started, using that mentality to go to not only my church and helping out. We gave away like 500. We gave 500 kids a Christmas. We did community service projects all over the place for the nonprofits. And then I got involved with the United Way and started working with them. and started to figure out how to support the people that were supporting other people in the community. I became the president of a chamber of commerce and trying to figure out how to help businesses become more productive and profitable and those kind of things. And so it's been a way of life. So when you said to me, Brian, do you want to come on board with Pay It Forward Tuesday? I said, dude, you got to run faster and get up here and jog with me, dude, because I don't want to leave you behind.
Well, I don't think we've been left behind quite
No, you
yet,
haven't.
but
No. And I'm just teasing, man. You guys
no, I hear you, brother.
I'm just getting my sea legs with what you're doing. You do an amazing job. And, and you're basically are systematizing what I did in my own life. And when you said, hey, can you join me? It's like, dude, I don't know what I can bring to this, because you've got amazing experts. You've got you on LinkedIn. You've got Adam on websites. You've got, a Benny, who's a business consultant, a coach, an NFL player. You've got Bob, who is this PR dude. He's amazing. And, all of these people, I'm just looking at them going, I'm not worthy. I do live in Aurora, Illinois, Wayne's World. We're not worthy.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah. But, it's such an amazing team. I said, hey, I don't know how I fit into this mess, but bring me in. And one of the things that I'm talking to two people actually this week, two of the Pay It Forward people, I'm going to be talking to them about how to optimize their team by using virtual assistants, because that's one of my superpowers. So that's where I can bring in one piece of what I do to help the people that you guys are helping.
Well, and this is public, but I'll give you this as well. We are now talking to one of the best operations guys that I know to come in to help do operations for us as well. So we're killing. Before we get into Pay It Forward Tuesday specific, and don't forget Jennifer Radke in regards to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot Jennifer too.
Yeah, that's my job, man. I'll make sure that we get it all covered. But so talk to me. I will give you the way I do this when I give speeches, seminars, whatever. I always tell people I'm more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn, but don't you dare send me a generic invitation. All you have to do in that invitation is say, Chuck, your presentation rocked, and I will accept the invitation. But so I'm going to put this up, Brian, for you. So talk to us about how we can get in touch with you and connect with you on LinkedIn.
Well, it's pretty easy. You got the link up there, and B Basilico is the way to find me, Brian Basilico. So key thing is follow along, because I post a lot of stuff. I'm not only, I'm not the cobbler whose kids have holes in their shoes. I do a podcast every Monday and Wednesday. I do a blog every Tuesday. I do an email broadcast every Thursday. I do the Saturday LinkedIn show. I'm constantly posting content and engaging on there, because I believe in showing people what's working and what's not working. And giving away your best stuff is usually the best way that you can connect with people. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, and you do an excellent job, man. There's no doubt about that. So, and the other thing too, for the, I keep saying to turn the youngsters, but I'm allowed to do that since I'm in my early 60s. But for those folks, one of the things I always tell people is one of my favorite phrases is the only answer you're going to get if you don't ask the question is no. Right. And don't hesitate to do that. Next week, and we'll talk about this, one of my, influencers, mentors, if you will, Craig Newmark, who created Craigslist and now is a philanthropist. He basically embodies what I tell people, which is just because they are well-known, celebrity, whatever it may be, unless you approach them, you're never going to talk to them. And a good percentage of the ones that you want to talk to are the ones that respond back. Right. So being able to do that. So Brian, let's, this has been, I told you, man, we're already at 40, which, we're moving forward. So we could do a 3-part series and bring Adam in and, Bob Shears, by the way, is a guy that worked for Duracell and Cabot Cheese, my favorite company, as a PR guy. And we are coming alongside some really cool people. So normally what I would do here is I would say, thanks, Bob. It's been fun. We'll do this, but I'm going to keep you on for the Pay It Forward Minute, because I think, you are an active part of what we're doing here. And as we mentioned it, so folks who may not know what the Pay It Forward Tuesdays initiative is, it started in December. It's going through 2021 at the minimum. We're looking to seriously consider a 501c3 as a result. We work with nonprofits and up and coming entrepreneurs. The 6 of us, which is the Pay It Forward 6, actually give them 30 minutes of consulting time for free. And I'm talking for you, Bob, sorry, Brian, but I know for a fact that that's part of the mentorship that goes both ways. I'm
Right.
learning a lot from all kinds of cool people and be able to do that. We have announced our winner for March, but we've got up and coming with a new month, which starts tomorrow. We'll be selecting a new recipient in April. So if if somebody that you are looking for who is deserved, then there's payitforwardtuesdays.org. And shout out to Adam Sinkus, the hardest working co-founder I've ever dealt with. As far as that goes. So if you know somebody who might be interested in being part of this and also, could use the consulting, then go to payitforwardtuesdays.org for more information, or contact Brian or myself and we can put you in touch. Yep. One of the things that we keep talking about, and I'd love to have this happen, if you're a company or organization that provides products and services to the Small Business and Entrepreneur Committee, we are looking for sponsors that can provide services and products in kind for the 2021 recipients. Now, what does that mean? Granted, in a couple of weeks, I've got Stephanie Stuckey coming on. I don't think it's pecan rolls we're looking for sure. But, if you're UPS or GoDaddy or whatever it may be, anything that you think might help an organization, we'd love to have that. And then you would be part of our website and part of our social media, which is significant. And it's a great way to pay it forward while building brand equity in the community. And again, so just contact Brian or myself for more details, and we'd be glad to do that. So
can I tell a really quick story?
Sure, absolutely.
During our LinkedIn Live, one of my friends was on the LinkedIn Live watching us, and he just authored a book. It's about music. He used to travel around the country with the best musicians you've ever known, Neil Diamond, Jimi Hendrix, you name it. I mean, the biggest of the biggest, Glenn Campbell, so on and so forth. And he's written a book. And while he was watching us, he heard about us talking about the lady in Austin, Texas, who has the music. I think it's an education business.
Thea Wood from the Horizon Music Foundation. Yeah.
Right. He came immediately in and said, hey, I'm going to donate $50. So the bottom line is Thea gets, 50 books valued at $20 a pop, which is $1,000 donation. He gets the opportunity to get his books in Austin associated with a music business person. And it's a win-win for both of them at the same time. And that's a simple little thing that anybody can do.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be $10 million. It could be $1,000. It could be $100 bucks worth of something.
Yeah. And, I've been a marketing director off and on for most of my career. And Eye Contact in particular, we created our corporate social responsibility program. One of the ways that we helped our local charities was give them free access to our subscriptions. Mm-hmm. That's real simple because, it didn't cost us a dime, quite frankly, to be able to do that. So it worked out really well. Before I forget, actually, my speaker's agent, Mindy East, is listening to the program. And she had one quick comment, and that was, for you, wow, couch to chamber president, very impressive, sir. So take that. I mean, absolutely. Brian, I can't tell you how much this is. I've been enjoying this, and I want to continue with what we're doing. And again, please contact Brian. Tell him that his presentation rocked and that you loved seeing him. I know he's very, very accessible, as the good people are. So I want to thank you again for being on Conversations today.
Dude, it was my pleasure. It went by way too fast.
Indeed. Thank you. So that is, in fact, another episode of Conversations with Chuck Hester. Next week, as I alluded to earlier, on April 7th, is Craig Newmark, founder of Craig Newmark Philanthropies, and yes, the guy behind Craigslist. One of my favorite people. We'll have a lot to talk about as far as that goes. And this is, again, the accessibility aspect of him agreeing to come on the show live. So please feel free to share this podcast with your friends and connections. The replay will post very soon on Facebook and YouTube, and also through anchor.fm. The audio of the podcast can be found on Google Podcast, Spotify, and many other channels. Now, my pay it forward for you, if you're interested in learning more on how you can improve your marketing and LinkedIn presence, then connect with me on LinkedIn, mention this podcast, and I will be more than happy to do a 15-minute free discovery call to talk about how I can be of service to you. So again, that's this for this week. Until next time, this is Chuck Hester reminding you to stay well, stay connected, and always pay it forward.